Shalom, and you're now locked in here at Israelite Talk TV, where you get nothing but the raw and the real whenever I'm in front of the camera. So make sure y'all show the page some love, like, subscribe, and share.
Shalom and greetings, and welcome back to another episode here at Israelite Talk TV, where you get the full 100 whenever I'm in the building and no paid media points. Okay. Now, in today's headline, family, you see the title, you see the thumbnail. We're going to be talking about the truth surrounding this so-called Chinese spy balloon, okay, that, entered into the U.S. about a couple weeks, give or take, ago, and basically came down through Canada, and they basically shot it down around South Carolina area. So we're going to be talking about that. But before I get into this information, make sure you guys hit that like button. You should already be subscribed to the channel. If not, hit that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, and make sure you share this video with other platforms so we can continue this discussion. Now, family, I'm going to ask you guys to bear with me. I'm a little bit up under the weather. This weather has been crazy. My allergies start to mess up whenever we get into like the spring and the fall season. So I don't know what's going on with this weather. We know that it's typically wintertime cold up north, and it's just the winter is just MIA, So that's something else we could talk about up the road. There's been rumors that the core of the earth stopped moving by, scientists and things like that. So that could be the cause of it. But, who knows? But at any rate, let's get into this discussion surrounding this so-called Chinese spy balloon. OK, now, I kind of waited because I knew that, whenever stuff happens and it's a real big topic, the tube kind of, they kind of move you out the way and kind of allow those big networks to kind of, run with the narratives that they're running with. OK. So I just want to go back and we're gonna look at some things, and I'm gonna tell you what I believe actually happened with this Chinese spy balloon. Okay, now they're saying that let me pull this up real quick, and I'll leave all these articles down in the description box where you can cross-reference the information. Also, let me say this before I start reading this. Some of you guys come to the channel and it's like, you're spreading opinions or this or whatever the case may be. This didn't happen or whatever the case may be. What I want you guys to understand, one of the things that we do here, we are a receipt-based platform. Whatever information I get or I speak on, I'm going to leave that information down in the description box. So all you guys have to do is go down in the description box, click the links, and go to the spots where this information is coming from. Now, I'm not responsible for the information that's coming out on those platforms, but when I see information, I lead a reference to where I'm getting that information from. That way you can go fact check it. Now, whether that information is correct or not, that's on the people that's right. And this is why you hear me saying allegedly and leaving links to the sources where I'm getting the information from. OK, so now I'm on BBC News, right? This article, right? And it tells us that defense officials also revealed on Saturday the balloon had first entered U.S. airspace on the 28th of January near Aleutian Islands, if I'm saying that correct, before moving to Canada airspace 3 days later and re-entering the U.S. on January 31st. OK, so what I'm going to do is so I got the well pulled up in this Aleutian Islands where they say that this balloon was first spotted or picked up at. OK, now this area is around Alaska area. OK, out by Anchorage on some little islands that's, kind of offshore from Alaska. OK, so you got to understand that right over from there, you also have Russia. OK, you got Russia. And then, as you go over some more, you kind of get into China, So basically what they're saying is that this air balloon basically kind of, traveled up from China up through Russia, and then it was spotted up by Alaska. Then it kind of drifted down into Canada. It entered into the United States, right? Okay. Now, one of the things that the Chinese stated was that they said, okay, Hong Kong weighed in on CNN, and I'm going to lead this here. It says Beijing accused Washington of illegally flying high altitude balloons over its airspace more than 10 times last year, calling the U.S. the world's largest surveillance empire. Okay. So now they want us to believe that this air balloon basically started in Alaska. Okay. And we know that we got military bases up there in Alaska. So they want us to believe that this air balloon started its course up here in Alaska, traveled through Canada. Okay. And then down through Montana, Idaho before making, a turn and started heading east. Okay. So now what's really going on here? Well, my thoughts is that this air balloon wasn't a Chinese balloon, a Chinese spy balloon. Okay. I don't believe that for 1 second. And whenever something is hard to believe, 9 times out of 10, it's not true. Okay. There's no way in the world that America or even Russia would allow this spy balloon to come through Russia. Okay. And then it entered the airspace up by Alaska, and then it traveled through Canada, and then it came down by Idaho, Montana area. Okay. And then it just kind of traveled, and then they shot it down, right? So they want us to believe that it entered all these airfields, and nobody picked this up, spotted it, decided to take it down, or none of that. So what's really going on here? You got to look and pay attention to where this balloon entered into the U.S. at. Okay, it entered up around the Montana, Idaho area. Okay, now what's so significant about this area up here, Montana? Montana is an interesting spot because when you look at Montana, you can see how Montana sits at the top, and kind of the border is right there by Canada. Okay. Now, what they're not telling you is that they are having issues up in Montana with the cartels. Okay. Now, there was an article that was put out last year. Okay. And I'm going to leave this also in the all these articles in the description box for you to pull it up, right? And it states Mexican cartels targeting Montana with fentanyl trade overdose deaths rising law enforcement. Okay. And it says Montana AG says cartels are targeting Montana because there are profits to be made, right? So this was June 22nd of last year, right? It goes on to say that Montana Highway Patrol troopers have already seized 3 times as many fentanyl pills on the streets this year compared to 2021. Fentanyl is typically used to treat patients with severe pain, but people are using it to get high, and doing so is often a death sentence. Okay. So there's a lot of people that are, hooked on this fentanyl that's dying all around this nation. It's not just, in certain spots. This stuff is going on all over, right? So what I want to point out to, man, is that when we go over here to this other article here on KTLA 5 Morning News, right? And this was an article that was put out just February 7th, right? It goes on to say, once limited to cities along the south border, the influence of Mexican drug cartels has spread to smaller American towns across the country, including several in the state of Montana. Okay, so the cartels are all up in Montana. Okay, she said, the article goes on to state that robberies, aggravated assault, and rape has risen statewide per state reported crime data, right? It says Montana Attorney General Austin Kasnudin, if I'm saying his name correctly, said the state has never seen anything like this before. He thinks the rise in the crime can be traced back to one place: Mexican drug cartels. Okay, now check this out, right, family? It says law enforcement concerns about the cartel's increasing presence became a reality in December when an undercover investigation exposed a multi-million-dollar drug trafficking network in Butte, okay, or Butt or Boot, however you pronounce that. It said authorities arrested 22 people, 3 of whom were associates of the Sinaloa cartel. And that's the cartel. Hold on. It says the violent group once run by El Chapo. So the same group that El Chapo, his members, they're the ones that are, up there in Montana running this big drug operation, right? So it was they arrested over 22 people, in this sting, right, back in December, right? Now check this out, right? It says we're 1,800 miles away from Sonora and 1,200 miles from the Mexican border. So it's pretty shocking, said the sheriff, Ed Lester, with Butte Silver Bowl Law Enforcement. Okay. Lester said the massive cartel bust was a first for his community of fewer than 40,000 people, but he fears it won't be the last. So what I want you guys to understand, family, is that there is a big, now listen to this, right? Let me read this. It says for drug kingpins, the profit margins can be massive. Traffickers along the southern borders purchase fentanyl tablets for as little as $1 each, but those same tablets can be sold for upwards of $70 a piece, said Knudsen. In the first 3 quarters of 2022, authorities in Montana seized twice as much fentanyl than they did the previous 4 years combined. Okay. So what it says is the cartels are notorious for smuggling their drugs and weapons via American highways, putting Nelson and other highways trooper on the front line of the fight. Okay. So what I want you guys to understand, family, is that you're dealing with the cartels up here in Montana. This is why when you saw that air balloon, it came down through that area. In my opinion, and this is allegedly, I believe that the balloon was picking up data and images in that area from the sky so they could actually see, how these people are operating. Because what you got to understand in places like Montana, or not, and we're going to use Montana because this is where it's going on at, but in a lot of the states that you guys live in all across America, you see a heavy police presence in the metros, where the people are at. But in the country towns, you don't see a whole lot of police out there because, number one, they don't need that much manpower out there, And so it helps you to understand that in a lot of these country spots where there's a lot of country, you may have, 1 or 2 sheriffs, or, you may have 1 sheriff and, so many deputies, but those deputies are not strong enough to, move like they do in the metros where they have more manpower, So, they're just at the mercy of the cartels. They just, they beating them up, as far as getting all of this stuff from the borders up to Montana. So I believe this is what the spy balloon was actually doing. I don't think for a minute. First, let me say this. You hear all this talk about the U.S. and China. I personally believe behind the scenes, China and America are on good terms. It's hard to, you get a lot of your supplies come from China. So it's hard for you to really be enemies and be beefing. And y'all got, all of this stuff that's going on. So those are just my thoughts on that. But at any rate, I believe that was used as a facade in order to have people believing that, oh, well, China flew this and that. There's no way in the world that China is flying no balloon through Alaska, where we know the military bases up there in Alaska, through Canada, and then down through the United States. This is why when you look where the balloon entered in at, it entered in up there around that area, that Idaho, Montana area. And you got to understand there's a lot of open terrain. And so the cartels are known for digging tunnels and trafficking and moving stuff, via tunnels and things like that. So it's my thoughts that they were doing that, but they didn't want to raise any type of suspicion, in my opinion. So it was just, oh, it was a China balloon. And we just, we're going to talk about that, when in reality, there's something else that's going on. So those are my thoughts on this spy balloon family. Y'all leave y'all thoughts down in the comment section on what y'all think this spy balloon was, or what's going on. Do you really believe that the United States, as China has already said, they are a big world surveillance? They surveillance the whole entire world. They're watching all around the world in all of these different countries. Okay, they have surveillance set up, and this is how they keep a stronghold. So you think that the number one top surveillance in the world is just let this balloon just come down through Canada? Canada wasn't even alerted about it. That would mean that all of these countries, Russia included, because Russia is like right on the other side of Alaska, right there, right where they said they spotted it. So that would mean, where did it take off at? Did it come through Russia? Did it, what I'm saying? If it was picked up through there, and then, what Russia got going on, they're going to pick that up in that airspace up there around that area. So it's just highly unlikely that balloon did all those different moves and then just kind of drifted out to sea, where it was finally shot down. Nobody said nothing. So that, in my opinion, is what happened. They have a fentanyl crisis going on up here in Montana, and the cartels are up there. And then you got to think where Montana at, like I said, it's in America, but then the border sits right up there by Canada. Okay. So they're able to move a lot of different product from that area to Canada and the different places throughout the United States. So y'all leave y'all thoughts down in the comment section below. And I'm signing off here on Israelite Talk TV. Shalom.